The Republicans had a debate this week that could redefine the race for president. To get into all of this, we're joined by columnist and author David Limbaugh. David, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to see you again. The Fox News debate, GOP debate, got underway on Tuesday, and there was no lack of fireworks between these candidates. I want to roll this for you. This is Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Rand Paul on military spending and its limits. Listen.
How is it conservative to add $1 trillion in military expenditures? You cannot be a conservative if you're going to keep promoting new programs that you're not going to pay for.
I know that Rand is a committed isolationist. I'm not. I believe the world is a stronger and a better place when the United States is the strongest military power in the world.
David Limbaugh, did Rubio help himself or hurt himself in that exchange?
Immeasurably helped himself on that particular issue, or I should say, hurt Paul. Paul hurt himself. Rubio's right. The conservatives are not shy about spending money on defense. Libertarians are, and Paul, of course, is the son of a libertarian, tries to act like he's not a libertarian. By the way, this isn't a cut to Rand. I like Rand personally. I love his budget hawkism, but when he says, how is it conservative to spend a lot on, it is conservative, it's constitutional. That's one of the few things the Constitution contemplates the federal government spend money on. We've got to be protected. And by the way, the real beneficiary of that exchange was Ted Cruz.
How so?
Because he came and said, it costs a lot to spend money, but imagine the cost if we don't defend ourselves.
I have to get into immigration, which was really front and center much of the night, the stalking horse really throughout this entire debate. This is...
And campaign.
And campaign. This is Donald Trump and Governor John Kasich of Ohio really mixing it up. Watch.
We're a country of laws. We either have a country or we don't have a country.
Come on, folks. We all know you can't pick them up and ship them back across the border. It's a silly argument. It's not an adult argument.
12 million illegal immigrants, to send them back, 500,000 a month, is just not possible. And it's not embracing American values. And it would tear communities apart. And it would send a signal that we're not the kind of country that I know America is.
David Limbaugh, you heard Jeb Bush there. Who was the victor in this exchange? Trump laying out this very tough stance. The wall's got to go up, and we'll talk in a moment about how he advanced that. And Kasich and Bush saying, this is inhumane, this isn't adult.
Well, those two are in the wrong party on that issue. And I think you and I talked about this off camera. I think Trump has awakened the base on this immigration issue. And that's why he's got to keep pushing it. Yeah, some of the rhetoric's a little harsh, and some of the talk is a little questionable. But the Kasich and Bush, on the other hand, are way off the reservation the other way. I love Jeb Bush as a person. I love the Bushes as decent people. But their idea, this compassionate conservative idea, is coming through. I have always resented that. Conservatism is compassionate. We just believe we help people in a different way.
But doesn't the Trump rhetoric hurt the image of the party?
Well, that's what they say, but I think we can't worry too much anymore about that. We've got to be who we are, and we have to show leadership, and we have to show we believe in our ideas, or we'll never ignite our own people. The Democrats never worry about playing to the center, and Romney, by the way, carried independents, and we still lost. We have to be raking conservatives, and we will win this election. If we are liberal light, we lose.
I want to play this for you. This is Donald Trump really upping the ante on immigration on Wednesday. He told Joe Scarborough about his new deportation force. Listen.
You're going to have a deportation force, and you're going to do it humanely, and you're going to bring the country, and frankly, the people, because you have some excellent, wonderful people, some fantastic people that have been here for a long period of time. Don't forget, Mika, that you have millions of people that are waiting online to come into this country, and they're waiting to come in legally.
David, you hear Mr. Trump there talking about his deportation force. He claimed Truman did this. Eisenhower did it, deported millions of people. There was no problem.
Yeah. Well, we don't live in those times, and boy, that would be something, wouldn't it? As strongly as I feel about immigration, I don't see that happening. But I do think it's getting old that nobody ever follows up on enforcing the border. The truth is the Democrats don't want to enforce the border. They want people in, not just, and let me say something that may sound cynical, not just to win votes and to flood America with people, the demographics, so that they'll win. You've seen Mark Stein's work about how they can win even without voters. By changing the demographics and the population. I think they don't believe in the American idea.
They who? The Democrats?
No, the Democrats. They don't believe in the American idea. We conservatives believe in the Constitution. We believe in instilling American values in would-be citizens. That's why we go through the naturalization process and we ensure ourselves they know about the basics of our government. The liberals don't care about the basics of our government. That's why they don't have any problem with the Supreme Court totally trampling the Constitution. They can say that's cynical, but it's a fact. We see it every day. So we care about preserving our sovereignty, not because we're nativists, not because we're ethnic. We're a mixture ethnically. It's because we believe that America is great because of it's built on an idea of liberty grounded in the Constitution.
I want to play something else for you. This is Ben Carson, one of the front runners. He and Donald Trump are really neck and neck in the polls. Wednesday, Carson got specific, outlining a plan for registering illegal immigrants. Watch.
I propose that we give them a 6-month period in which to register. If they don't register within that 6-month period, they're criminals and are treated as such. But if they register in that 6-month period and they have a pristine record and they wish to be guest workers in this country, they would have to pay a back tax penalty and they have to continue to pay taxes going forward. Now, that does not give them the right to vote. It does not make them U.S. citizens.
How does that play in the Republican Party?
That's interesting. Now, that's different than I thought, because he didn't there articulate a path to citizenship. Now, he may have in a different soundbite. I don't know.
He's talking about workers' permits,
right?
A working permit, but the way he's phrased it, a guest worker program, and legalized immigrants could apply for citizenship at some point.
You know,
but he's very vague on that.
Yes, Ted Cruz last night made a point that nobody, to my knowledge, in any of these debates and any of this discussion so far has made, and that is that a lot of these workers are coming in and undercutting American workers. And he said, and this was poignant, just such class debating. He said if a bunch of accountants and lawyers were coming across the Rio Grande, there'd be entirely different posture. And his point is, really, we do see workers coming in and undercutting, and it's not fair when they're not legal doing that.
What is the Ben Carson appeal? You're literally in Middle America,
yes,
in Missouri. What is the attraction here?
I think several things.
People here can't figure it out in Washington.
I think several things. They're so tired of politicians. That's not just a cliche. They really are, because obviously Washington has brought us disaster. We're talking $19 trillion of national debt. We're talking of $100+ trillion of entitlements and no prospect of reforming. So we're headed toward bankruptcy. We have ISIS on the march, and we have our social values. So all three legs of the Reagan stool of conservatism, social, economic, and foreign, are in the toilet. We face multiple existential threats, and we don't have any prospect to stop any of them in our current posture. Ben Carson stands for a restoration of traditional values. He's a strong Christian. People trust him. That's why they're trying, the liberals, the media is trying to undercut him where he's strongest, which is his credibility, which, by the way, is backfiring so far. Yeah. And he's got a freshness about him. He's got an innocence about him. Yes, he's not sophisticated about political issues despite his genius in medicine. But I think some people find that refreshing. He comes off as a little naive in some of
Well, that's my question. Does he have the experience to govern? Let's face it, one can be very accomplished in all manner of American life. To run a bureaucracy, oversee a team this sprawling, this large, in the greatest country in the world, is quite a task. Is he up to it? Is Ben Carson up to it?
I think he's up to it, but in a different way. I think he would have to delegate. My concern would be that it's not his ability to manage and all that. It's his being versed on some things, for example, constitutional issues. When he made a comment the other day that we could, and I'm paraphrasing, and this may be wrong because I want to be fair to him because I love the guy, but something about we want to keep propaganda out of the academia or an educational system. How are you going to do that? Well, we have a board. Well, then you can't have a board assessing speech. And I don't think if he thought through that, if he'd been mentored, but he hadn't been steeped in this stuff, even like you and I have. Yeah. He's been in the operating room. He's more brilliant than I'll ever hope to be, but he hasn't been steeped in this long enough. And so those kind of things, I think, give people the wrong idea, and I think he needs to learn those things.
Many said Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz were the standouts of this night.
Yes.
I want to play Ted Cruz. Again, talking about the limits on immigration, and anyone suggesting that there be limits is branded as anti-immigrant. Senator Ted Cruz.
And I will say, for those of us who believe people ought to come to this country legally and we should enforce the law, we're tired of being told it's anti-immigrant. It's offensive. I am the son of an immigrant who came legally from Cuba to seek the American dream.
Ted Cruz, again, a brilliant debater and
Yes.
and very articulate. How does he stack up? How can he find room in this mix? You have the blockade of Trump and Carson really gobbling up all of Ted Cruz's base at this moment.
I just wrote about this, interestingly, today for my column.
I didn't peek, I promise.
No, it's on the train on the way over. It's not even out yet. And by the way, I loved him. He just said what I said in a different way about the nativism. I'm sick of being accused of being a nativist because I want to enforce the borders. I'm an Americanist. I don't care who comes in. We're all different colors. That's not the point. We're not anti-immigrant. We want people to enforce to embrace the American idea. And we don't want unruly, unlawful immigration into our country. You can't remain a nation if you don't control and manage your immigration. Look at Rome, et cetera, et cetera. But Cruz is a brilliant debater. He has been, I think, kind of a stalking horse for Trump. He hasn't want to offend Trump. And he, like I do, appreciates Trump taking on the establishment, even if he doesn't agree with them on a lot of things, probably, although he's not going to say it. I see Trump and Rubio at one level in the debate. I mean, in the race, and in terms of support, they're here, and Carson and Trump are up here. But these two, their support might be soft because it's not based on. Well, Trumpites would get furious at me saying this. I can't say it's not based on policy because it is. Trump has called the establishment out. He's gone after them.
I mean, it's a campaign of immigration and trade.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's built on those two issues,
yes,
right?
Yes, it is. And I'm not a protectionist, by the way, and that's part of his repertoire I don't like. But Trump, you could see everybody thinks he's going to implode because he's kind of a wild card man. But no, and I see him actually evolving as more mature as a candidate. You see at each debate, he's less bombastic and less offensive to people. He called Carly out a little bit, but she had it coming a little bit too for interrupting. And I like her, by the way. And so. And Ben Carson, well, they're going after him, and he's not, like you say, he's not experienced. So everybody's thinking that could be soft support. Trump's definitely, but the other two are so solid. I think eventually they're going to pick at each other. And in the process of picking each other, they don't want to pick at the big guys because they're both, their supporters will resent it. Cruz, they've been in the process of picking on each other. They'll come in through the side door, phrase you look, and they'll indirectly be going after the others. Then they're hoping these other two, one or the other, will implode. Then they'll sneak in there, and eventually it'll be one-on-one. But I do see Trump versus Cruz, and Trump versus Carson and Cruz versus Rubio. Don't you? That's the way the race is shaping up.
So you think it's going to be establishment versus this outsider when it's all over? Is that how it shakes out?
No, I'm not sure.
No.
But I did say that. But am I going to stick to me saying that since I just came up with it on the fly? I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
While you think about that,
yes.
I want to show you this undercard debate. This was the debate before the main event. Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal took on New Jersey Governor Christie for not doing enough to fight Obamacare. Watch.
Chris, look, I'll give you a ribbon for participation and a juice box, but in the real world, it's about results. It's about actually cutting government spending, not just talking about cutting government spending.
Yep. Governor Jindal, thank you.
Yeah, listen, we've stopped Obamacare in New Jersey because we refuse to participate in the federal exchange. But here's the bigger issue. What do you think is going to happen when Hillary Clinton's elected president of the United States? The woman who tried to impose health care on this country over 20 years ago. And she was stopped then by a strong group of Republicans and an American public that said, no, thank you.
There he is, Christie. My take here, watching this race, watching how this shapes up, it seems as if Christie could be the dark horse for either the establishment or maybe he takes that Trump base.
It could go either way. You listen to yourself. It's fascinating what you just said, because therein you revealed that he's malleable, which is the thing that makes him unattractive in the end. Yeah, he's very attractive. He seems like one of us, but he seems like one of them too. So in the end, you can't trust. I don't want to say I can't trust, but I'm not too enamored with him with the big bear hug with Obama. And plus, he's a little too snarky. I mean, it's, you know, always do. But I do appreciate some things about him. But what's more fascinating about than that is that just last night I was talking to someone in another green room. Won't mention a competition, and she said to me the exact same thing. She said, "The more I can't stand Christie, but I find myself starting to like him." And I think I could maybe go for him. So I knew you were insightful and prescient, but that's pretty interesting, is it not, in the last 2 days?
No, he impressed in that smaller debate. He really stood out, and he is doing something interesting. He's not fighting with the guys next to him. He's taking on Hillary Clinton. We heard it at the end of that fight.
And I think Jeb tried to do that last night, and I admired him for it, and I feel sorry for Jeb. It's just not his time.
Is he done?
I think he's done.
Chris, what about Kasich? Done?
Way done, like burnt to a crisp.
Okay. Well, now we go.
Is he a Catholic? I'm in trouble if he's a Catholic.
No, I don't know where he is. I think he was Catholic. He's no longer Catholic.
Good, okay.
I'm not sure.
Totally burned. He's
That's
like
okay.
double burned.
Look, we are equal opportunity truth tellers.
I know.
Doesn't matter what your faith. We're telling it like it is.
Yeah.